So today, we're going to dive into a really life-changing idea from Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We're going to break down the 8 assets that can literally build a path from where you are right now to true financial freedom. And listen, this isn't just about getting rich. It's about building a system where your money starts working for you instead of the other way around. Okay, let's just start with a really simple question. Are you working for money or are you working for freedom? Kiyosaki argues that your answer to this one question pretty much determines your entire financial future. It's a huge shift in perspective, and once you make it, it changes everything. So, let's get into it. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the 2 different ways people think about money. Then, we'll talk about the assets that build you up personally. After that, the assets that kind of grow quietly in the background, then the ones you have to actively create yourself. And finally, we'll cover the single most important human asset that really ties this whole thing together. All right, let's dive into the core idea here. Kiyosaki's whole philosophy is built around something he calls the cash flow quadrant. It's a really simple way of looking at the world that explains why some people seem to work less and earn more, while so many of us feel like we're just stuck on a financial hamster wheel. It really just boils down to 2 totally opposite mindsets. On one side, you can work for security. This is the path we're all taught, right? Trade your time for nice, steady paycheck. But on the other side, you can work for freedom. This means you focus on building assets that eventually make money for you, so you don't have to work forever. The entire goal is to move from the security side over to the freedom side. So, the big question is, how do we even start making that shift? Well, it all begins with the foundational assets, the investments you have to make in yourself first. Seriously, these are the absolute bedrock for everything else we're going to talk about. The first and, honestly, the most precious asset you will ever have is time. We've all heard time is money, but it's so much more than that. You can always make more money, right? But time, once you spend it, it is gone for good. It is your single most valuable non-renewable resource, period. So the real key is how you use it. You can leverage time by starting to invest when you're young. Someone who starts at 20 is going to have way more wealth than someone who waits until 30. Or you could use your weekends to learn new skills to get a promotion. Or you could build a side hustle that might just turn into something that changes your whole life. Now, the second foundational asset is one we all take for granted until it's too late: your health. Think about it. Without your health, all the ambition, the time, the money, it doesn't mean a thing. Your health is the engine that lets you chase after all your other goals. And let's be clear, your health has a direct impact on your wallet. Being unhealthy isn't just a physical problem, it's a huge financial one. Bad habits can drain your income right now and lead to absolutely crushing medical bills down the line. But good health? That's a wealth multiplier. It lets you be more productive, earn more, and actually stick around long enough to enjoy the freedom you've built. Okay, so once you've invested in yourself, you can start getting assets that grow more quietly. This is where the real magic starts to happen. This is where your money truly begins working for you. A fantastic starting point for a lot of people is paper assets. So think stocks, bonds, mutual funds. For those of us who have demanding jobs and not a lot of extra time, this is an amazing way to invest in other people's successful businesses without having to run them yourself. It's all about discipline. Investing a little bit consistently instead of just spending it on stuff you don't really need. But hang on, that brings up a really big question. Paper money, the dollar, the euro, it only has value because our governments say it does. So what happens if that changes? What if that piece of paper in your wallet suddenly becomes worthless? And the answer to that question leads us straight to our 4th asset: commodities. These are the real physical things our world is built on, stuff that has value to people whether a government exists or not. Kiyosaki actually has this really powerful name for them. He calls them God's money. He's talking about things like gold, silver, oil, even food. These things are a great defense against inflation and uncertainty because there's only so much of them, and people are always going to need them. We will always need energy, food, and ways to store wealth. All right, next up is one of the most powerful and just time-tested assets for building wealth: real estate. It's a total cornerstone for creating that passive income we're all after and securing your financial future. Now, the secret weapon in real estate, and Kiyosaki loves to talk about this, is something called OPM, other people's money. What this means is you can actually use the bank's money to buy an asset that makes you money. You put down a small amount and the bank covers the rest. It's an incredible tool. And the benefits here are huge. First, it creates a second stream of income. The rent your tenants pay can cover the mortgage and all the expenses, and you often get to pocket some cash on top of that. It also gives you some major tax breaks. And maybe most importantly, it's an asset that builds wealth you can pass down for generations. This is how you really get out of the rat race. Okay, now we're getting to the heavy hitters. These are the assets that require a ton of effort up front, but man, the rewards can be basically limitless. This is all about creating your very own wealth engine from scratch. The sixth asset is a business. Just think of any self-made billionaire, from Elon Musk to Jeff Bezos. They didn't just get lucky. They poured every single ounce of their sweat and blood into building something of value from the ground up. And the difference between the two paths is it's night and day. An employee often has to work hard their entire life just for a paycheck. But an entrepreneur, they work like crazy for a few years to build an asset, the business, which can then give them passive income and a legacy for generations to come. And in today's world, you don't need a huge factory to build a business. Asset number 7 is online assets. A YouTube channel, a blog, an online course. You can start these things with almost zero money. You can take a skill you already have, share it with the world, and build a digital business that literally earns you money while you sleep. So we've covered 7 really powerful assets, but there's one final asset that acts like a multiplier for all the others. It's what I'd call the ultimate human asset. And that asset is your network. Your reputation, your personal brand, the connections you build, these things are priceless. Think about it like this. Say you run a catering business. You do an amazing job at one party. All the guests love the food, and now, bam, you have dozens of potential new clients. A happy client always leads to more clients. Your network is what turns good work into massive success. So let's do a quick recap of the 8 assets. It all starts with that foundation, your time and your health. Then you build the assets that grow quietly, paper assets, commodities, and real estate. From there, you can start actively building your own wealth engines, a business or online assets. And the one asset that supercharges all of them is your network. Every single one of these is a step away from working for security and a step toward building real freedom. So there you have it. You have the blueprint now. The map to financial freedom is laid out right in front of you. The only question left is the most important one of all. Which asset will you start building today? Because that journey to freedom, it always starts with that first single step.